He's just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Week 0 of the college football season just wrapped up, and we got our first taste of college football to get us ready for what is to come this upcoming weekend. And after these games where we got to see Nebraska collapse against Northwestern, by the way, I called that, where we got to see Vanderbilt completely smack Hawaii, called that as well. Those games were fun. They're not the heavyweight matchups that we're actually preparing for in week 1. We did, however, today and yesterday get news regarding 2 quarterback battles, arguably the 2 highest followed and tracked quarterback battles. The only one that is not in this equation that we have not figured out the determined starter yet is LSU. But the 2 that we now know, yesterday we found out about Michigan's situation. Today we found out about Auburn's situation. And to keep it to the point, before I get into the full thoughts on this, both Michigan and Auburn made the wrong decision. Michigan's decision was that in week 1, Cade McNamara is going to be the starter against Colorado State. TJ McCarthy, who appeared in spurts last year, is going to be the starter in the following game against Hawaii. And then after that, there's going to be a determination on who is the effective starter against UConn. They are afforded a unique opportunity that most teams don't get. Like a school like Oregon, who has to play Georgia week 1, is not in a situation where they get to play 2 soft games and then make a decision before they play UConn. And then after that, their first in-conference game is against Maryland. Their first real test doesn't come until Iowa, and the rest of their remaining schedule is pretty light until they face Penn State on October 15th. There is a lot of runway for Michigan to make this decision. I understand that approach of using these games as preseason games, but I absolutely hate the indecisiveness. You need to make a decision on who your starting quarterback is going to be. But the biggest thing here is I don't understand why Cade McNamara has been afforded this much runway to be the starter and to be given another shot. JJ McCarthy last year was a 5-star recruit, and he was stepping into his first year on campus with Michigan, first opportunity to see the field at Michigan, and he didn't play often. They brought him in spurts, and as the season progressed, we saw more and more of what JJ McCarthy was capable of. There is a noticeable difference between the 2 of them. The big positive that McNamara brings to the table is that he is the incumbent. He's been there longer. He's been in the offense longer. He's been a part of the program longer. He's going to be able to provide more veteran leadership, which tends to be the cliche that we get not only for college football quarterbacks, but also for Jim Harbaugh. Tends to lean in favor of the more conservative, safer, less risky player. Cade is a guy who has strong accuracy and above average decision making. But overall, as a whole, he is smaller. He has a weaker arm. He does less to put your team in a position to win than JJ McCarthy does. There is a noticeable difference because JJ McCarthy was a highly recruited kid in his recruiting class. Cade McNamara is a player who you can win not because of, but can supplement when your defense is playing really well, when the run game is working. That works well within the Michigan offense. But if you have a guy like JJ McCarthy who you can win because of, you got to start the guy. We can't be playing these games and messing with the confidence of both these players. And the one thing, to finalize my point on this quarterback battle, if after getting to see JJ McCarthy against Hawaii and we still decide to go with Cade McNamara, I am going to be very disappointed in Jim Harbaugh for making that choice. And I have high expectations for Michigan this year. A lot of people think that because they lost a lot of players that they could be a team that falls off this season. But they still return a lot of defensive starters. They still have Blake Corum. They have a lot of their returning offensive line as well, which was considered to be the best, if not one of the best offensive lines in the country. But you put J.J. McCarthy in as the starting quarterback, you have somebody who can set your team up for success against Ohio State, which is going to be the most important game of the season, and also to be good enough to compete in the college football playoff. It is very hard for Georgia to do what they did and to make it that far, win a national championship with Stetson Bennett. Most other teams are going to require talent at the quarterback position to help them win. And I really just do not think that Cade McNamara is that guy. Now, Auburn, this is a less aggressive take than the Michigan situation. I think that is complete mismanagement in Michigan's case by not making a decision. But they decide to go with Bryan Harsin decides to go with TJ Finley, the former LSU quarterback, to start over the Texas A&M transfer, Zach Calzada. And it's kind of like a lesser of two evils. Both are good quarterbacks. Both have their issues. And I almost see this battle as, do you go with the guy who beat Alabama last year or the guy who almost beat Alabama last year? Zach Calzada is the one who beat Alabama, and TJ Finley is the one who almost did and put them in a really close, hard-fought battle in the Iron Bowl last season. I personally would have gone with Zach Calzada. Seeing what he did in the very brief periods of time that he played as Texas A&M's starting quarterback, that Alabama game was some of the best quarterbacking that Texas A&M had all of last year. Now, Calzada was very up and down in his performances, but that was a really good game. And if you can get that out of him and you can get him to play at that level when you have to play Alabama, which in Auburn's case this season, they're not going to be competing for a national championship. They're not going to be competing for an SEC championship, but to come in and upset Alabama is what you want. And I just, seeing what he did against Alabama last season was going to be the guy that could put you in a position to maybe upset Alabama. I think TJ Finley's fine. I think that as up and down and as volatile as Calzada is, I think TJ Finley is equally as volatile. And similar to Calzada, he played well against Alabama, but there weren't enough good strings of performances from Finley, who took over the starting job towards the end of the season from Bo Nix, which shouldn't really be considered to be much of an accomplishment. TJ Finley just did not have enough strings of strong performances. A talented player, big, strong quarterback, but the decision-making is troublesome. The accuracy is troublesome. Calzada makes a lot more sense for what we've seen Bryan Harsin do with his team. I know that they have a new offensive coordinator, but he's the type of quarterback that has had success under Bryan Harsin, looking back at his days at Boise State. Regardless, both these teams, though, are going to find out really quickly if they made the right decision or not. If you agree with me or not, please drop a comment. Let me know what you think. If Auburn made the right decision, if Michigan made the right decision, drop a comment. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure you're subscribed for more college football conversations. This upcoming week, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to get as many shows out as possible to preview this slate of games. But so make sure you're tapped in, you're ready to go, and you don't miss out on this action coming in for week one of the college football season.